Hello, Strong Runner Chicks. Welcome back to another episode of SRC Radio. And this is not just another episode, but it is episode 100, which sounds crazy to me. It almost seems like, I don't know, like we started our podcast so long ago now, but I can't believe we're already to 100 episodes. I am joined, it's Megan here, joined by Kelsey and Elena, and we're really excited to share share more about kind of our journeys through Strong Runner Chicks, what we've learned throughout the process, and then answer some of your questions and invite you guys to participate more. So that being said, welcome to the show, Kelsey and Elena.
Yay! We're excited to be here.
Yeah.
So happy to be here.
I would say cheers, but I just have a glass of water here.
Like, my water bottle.
Yes, we got our
water bottle. Cheers. if you're tuning in right now, say cheers and drink, hydrate, drink your water. Anyway, I'm very excited, and I think it's not something, at least personally, sometimes I look over milestones like this, but it's really worth celebrating. So, like I said, yeah, excited to chat a little bit more. One of the questions that we had was just kind of about the background, like how we started SRC and how we each got involved. So I've kind of shared the story a little bit about SRC. I actually was just featured, usually on the Run is an account created by Paige Carter, I believe. And she just interviewed me, and it got me thinking about how I first started SRC. It was back in college. I just recognized, I think it was in 2015 when I published my first blog post, and I recognized that there was a need for topics that weren't being discussed enough, like around mental health and athletic identity, eating disorders, body image, just all these issues weren't being addressed to what I thought was a high enough level, or a level at which was maybe deep enough. Like it wasn't being addressed, at least from what I could understand from my existing team and kind of my experience. So I set out and talked to people like Rachel Stile. She was one of the front runners and leaders and kind of starting a discussion around these topics. And from there, it just kind of blossomed, and we had more and more contributors. And eventually, Kelsey and Elena hopped on board and helped grow SRC to what it is today. Yeah, so that's kind of like an overview. I mean, like podcast, we hosted a retreat back in 2018. And so I would say kind of with that, like my favorite memories thus far have been any experiences that I have gotten or that I see happening of Strong Runner Chicks meeting in person. That always excites me, and just making these new connections within our community have been some of my favorite experiences. So I'll invite Kelsey and Elena to kind of share how they got involved and maybe a few of their favorite memories so far.
Take it away, Kelsey.
Okay. So I think I spoke about this a little bit on one of the podcasts as well, but I got involved in SRC back in I think it was February of 2017. I reached out to Megan, and we'll always laugh about this. And I reached out to her and I called her Miss Flanagan. I was like, "Hi, Miss Flanagan. My name is Kelsey Varzeas." And like I introduced myself, and I was really at a time in my life where I was going through a lot of change, and I was working, and I had an eating disorder. And so I felt as though, entering this community would be a really big part of kind of just finding like a little bit of grounding in what I was going through with all the change that I was that was going on. So I reached out to Megan, and I wanted to be a contributor and kind of offer what I could in terms of my experiences. And I'd love to write and just talk to people. Seems to be something I really enjoy to do. So reach out to her. And then since then, I think it was in the fall of 2017, we had our first episode that we recorded. And I think when I think back to my time with SRC, I think one of my favorite memories was actually recording the first episode, and Megan and I had no idea what we were doing. And the entire time we were just laughing. We were like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me right now?" Like old people on the phone, like yelling. And that's what we were doing. And then I can remember episodes where we like didn't record half of it and we were like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like had to go back and like do it all over again. So things like that where we actually made a lot of mistakes were probably my most favorite memories because we just got to laugh about them. And then in the moment they were terrible though. We were like, oh, this is so embarrassing. But it always turned out okay. And so I think, you know, when I think back to my time with SRC, it's just not only that, but being able to cultivate a community of folks who really want to make difference in the lives of women in sports. So I would have to say that those kind of were things that I remember of my time here. But Elena, I'm interested in hearing.
Yeah, I joined on in May of 2017, so coming up soon, I guess. We both have almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
I had my own blog for a little bit, but I got to a point where I was like, who am I writing to? Like, who is my audience? Like, I've always loved like being like working on my writing and blogging, and then I remember I was coming back from northern Michigan, like being up near Traverse City, and I was driving back, coming home like after school had ended. I think it was after my sophomore or junior year of college, if I remember correct. And I was like, something stumbled across like on Facebook or something about Strong Runner Chicks. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like this is what I've been looking for. This is like my community to write for. Like this is what I love to do. And then after that, and I might have even sent Meg an email in the car then, and connected, and then we talked on the phone, and I was welcomed on to the team. And I had told Megan, I remember one of my first projects I wanted to work on was how to help a teammate with an eating disorder. And so I did a series of blog posts on that from two perspectives: as a teammate who, like a teammate, somebody who has an eating disorder and what they want to share to their teammates, and then from the other perspective of somebody who is a teammate helping somebody that has an eating disorder. So that was a really meaningful series for me, and I was glad I was able to do that, and maybe it'd be fun to do something like that again or kind of revamp that. So yeah, that, and then I would say just like my favorite part of being part of SRC is just all the people we get to connect with and meet. Like there's so many people that you get to reach out to that you would never have ever reached out to probably without like Strong Runner Chicks behind your name or like behind the Instagram account or something, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just got to talk to this person or this person. And I think it just affords that community in that way, even though those people we reach out to would probably love to connect with us any other way. It just having that account that has a little bit more backing behind it adds some more meaning to why we're reaching out and what we're trying to do. So I think that's really special. And I've gotten to meet lots of people through Strong Runner Chicks. And even when I was in like my junior and senior year of college, like at track meets, if I had somebody I had interviewed or written a blog post about, I'd be like, hey, are you gonna get this track meet? And then there are a few people I got to meet at some different track meets around. So I think that's been always my meaningful. And even still, like we're still get to meet new people. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing. And I was just remembering to the Strong Runner Chick pen pals and how Elena was partnered with someone at Utah State, and then I found that out, and I just thought it was so cool that like what a small world. It's just pretty neat to be able to connect with so many people.
Yeah.
So in terms of Strong Runner Chicks, you know, one of our biggest undertakings is this podcast. Clearly, Kels, there was definitely a learning curve when we started, and it's been really fun among the three of us having Elena come on and do some interviews. And I think getting the dynamic, either, you know, all three of us, two of us, it kind of changes up. Sometimes it's just me or just one of you and another person. So it's always changing and evolving, and I love that. But looking back, I know this may be difficult. Maybe you need to pull up iTunes. What are some of the favorite interviews out of the past 99 that have been your favorite?
Yeah, I did a little thinking beforehand of a few people. I haven't interviewed as many guests as you both have, but I was just thinking back on the people I've gotten to help interview or sit on with, and I really enjoy getting to talk to Jacqueline Almace, Kate Hurley, and then Jennifer Criet Solis for Yoga for Eating Disorders. I think I remember her and I who did that one, but she was such a wonderful person, and everyone we have on it is wonderful and has great insight. But those people stood out in my mind as guests I was really excited to interview.
Oh gosh, this is so hard. This is like this is literally like picking
Asking
favorite
you to
child.
pick favorites.
You're asking me to pick a favorite child. No, I would agree with, I would echo Elena.
Yeah.
I mean, the people we've got a chance to interview, I just, it's mind blowing to me sometimes. And I think the other thing I want to reiterate is we've interviewed a lot of really amazing women, and whether they're elite or they are just casual recreational runners, every single one of the stories that we've interviewed have been so profound and so just like people being vulnerable and people being, you know, really in tune with what they want to share with the community. And I think for me, I'm going to be that annoying person and be like, I don't know if I can pick, because I really truly think that I feel so incredibly honored to have all these women share their stories with me. Like, how cool is that to have that experience, right? Like, it's so amazing. So I think more than anything, I remember situations of interviewing people that, you know, being totally put back on my heels by something that someone said. Like, we literally just did an interview the other day, and some of the things that were talked about, I was just like on my heels. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, you know? So I just honestly, I can't pick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's hard. It's tough. You know, I have to say too, I think some of my favorites have been, well, ones that other people have told me about too. So I interviewed Tessa Chesser, who I had, people that I've met too. I think it always helps if and hopefully I'm not cutting out. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Now we're back to our basics again of like, can you hear me? But I was just kind of scrolling through iTunes and the past, you know, episodes, and I think the ones where I had formed a connection ahead of time, or like one of us knew, you know, I know Kelsey and Elena, you've had some of your friends on, and just I think that allows you to go a layer deeper. I mean, of course, I love also kind of the excuse to chat with someone for the first time over the podcast, but for instance, last week interviewed Rachel Drake, who I ran with at Minnesota, and that episode's going to be released soon, so stay tuned. But that was one of my all-time favorites so far, because we were allowed to just kind of, I think, go deeper than I normally do on an episode and like scratch the surface. Because as much as I love Zoom, we were able to socially distance and kind of stay apart, but still record at this in the same same setting. So, and I know Elena, you've dabbled with that as well.
Yeah, I got to do that for one episode with Olivia Ballou, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It does definitely add that just another dynamic, and it just allows for a conversation to maybe flow a little bit more naturally than if you don't know somebody. Not that that's an issue, but it just you can definitely tell the dynamic difference.
Yeah, definitely. Lessons learned. It sounds like we kind of reflected on some of these. Do you guys have any that are standing out?
I guess like you could think of it of a lot of different ways. I would say for me, like the thing that just popped off the top of my head is just like more like technical and like design. Like for me, it's been like learning how to use Instagram and like, like how can we use this? Like what can we do with this? Or like how does this work? Even though we're definitely not great with it all, I think that's like, I think it's a good lesson because in these past 3-4 years, like it's become even more like social media and just digital connections have become even more prevalent, and it's just like a really good skill to have. And I don't know, I know there's different ways we can think of these lessons as well, and that was just one way.
So many lessons. I mean, I think it comes back to what I said in kind of my last answer of like, everybody I've talked to has put me on my heels in some way and has gotten me to learn something new about the world and this community. And I think when I think more specifically about what a lot of our podcasts are about, is that no one's story is the same. We all are united through, you know, a common belief that we all love to be an athlete, whatever that looks like to you. So I think though that, you know, doing the podcast has really showed me that no one's story is the same, even though we all view ourselves as female athletes, or as, you know, whatever you choose to identify as a gender athlete. And so, you know, I think that that's kind of been my lesson learned, if anything else. And then Also to always ask people how to pronounce their names before going on and recording.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
You have blunders of that, and then the person's like, actually, that's not how
Oh
you
God.
say it.
I
I'm like,
have
oh.
I had this come up so recently, you guys. You guys will get to hear Rachel's episode, but I was just like, okay, Rachel Drake, like I know how to say your name. I know how to like say the bio. I even asked like how to pronounce everything in her bio, right? And then I still had said like, anyway, she just got married recently, and I was like, wait, is it Rachel Drake or Rachel Green? And we're on the air, you know, so there's always going to be those instances. It's kind of worth laughing about, but yeah, definitely. Gosh, I feel like I've learned so much. It's just kind of hard, like in terms of business, in terms of community. One of the big things too is just like being able to ask for help. I think that's something personally that I try to pride myself on, being self-reliant. And like when I first started, you know, I even just asking teammates to be featured on the blog was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if they have the time, you know. And I think now, like, and I even remember Kels like asking people to be on the podcast the first couple episodes. It was like, wait, are they going to want to talk to us? Are they going to want to be on? That's at least what ran through my mind. And I think now, you know, most people are honored to be on a podcast and even nervous to be on our podcast. And it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, don't be nervous to be on our podcast. But I just, I think people are more than willing to help however they can. And that was a lesson too that I learned at the first retreat, because you know, the first time you do anything, it's not going to be perfect. And just having people step in and help out and not expect perfection was really refreshing, and I think has kind of helped me grow and helped SRC grow. So yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we have some kind of fun questions, and I know we're, as usual, on our Zoom time limit. We can always divide this episode if needed, but we're getting a little short on time. So what do you each like to do outside of running or outside of being an athlete or moving?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this was more for me because sometimes it looks like all I do is run. I don't know.
I don't think you definitely do more than run, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in school right now, so that takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
To be honest. I think when I think about what I do outside of running, I think it actually depends on the time period in my life, right? So like, I wouldn't say that I'm like a runner anymore. I would just say that I like to move my body, whatever that looks like. And so I think outside of running, I mean, it depends on the day. It depends on my mood. I think though, like things that are my go-to are reading for pleasure, 100%. Like if I could do that for the rest of my life and get paid to read for pleasure, I'd probably do it. Scratch this THG thing. But yeah, so I'm in school right now, so a lot of my time is dedicated to that. I love to read.
Yeah. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading? I am reading this series. Oh wait, that might be backwards for people, but it says A Court of Mist and Fury. It is because I'm getting my PhD right now. I am reading things like teen, like dystopian novels, like anything that's super easy to read, because I just can't take like a Brene Brown book right now, or else I would lose it. I'm sorry, I just like couldn't.
That's so funny. I feel like that's what I need right now.
Oh my gosh, I
That's
know.
hilarious.
Too many for someone who's a major empath and like.
Oh yeah, too much.
I can't take it. Too many
Yeah.
feelings right now. So I'm reading that book right now, and then I have a bunch of others that are sitting. I have like 8 on my floor right now. So I love to read, like to bake. I love to play outside. So honestly, I like to do a lot outside of running. Yeah,
definitely.
I was gonna say I started running, but still movement based. Right, first thing was I like to go hiking, or explore anywhere. I went trail running earlier today too, Meg. So that was a lot of fun.
Yay.
Hiking, any like kayaking or biking. I've recently trying to get into road biking, so that's been kind of fun.
Ooh.
And then outside of movement based, I went to grab, I like to make homemade cards. This is my little card I made, my free time here.
Love it.
Yeah, I usually like to do anything artsy. I guess the biggest thing is I always like to make homemade cards for people. So cards and baking too. I'm trying to tackle making homemade donuts. I've never done that yet.
Ooh.
So that's a next up thing to me to craft up and try out.
Yum, homemade donuts. That sounds tasty. I saw Lauren Ross, who's been on SRC, she has taken to making cinnamon rolls homemade, which looks pretty good.
Yes, I've done
Yeah.
that before. My sister makes some really good red velvet cinnamon rolls
Ooh.
for holidays.
Oh, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What about you, Meg? What do you like to do? I know you openly were like, people think all I do is run, but I don't know if that's the case.
Well, yeah, I think I've been thinking about this topic a little more and how I'm just so like life balance that term doesn't appeal to me because like I don't have, I don't have a boyfriend, like I'm not in a I don't have a dog. I don't have just like kids or a family or like I have family, but like I don't have things that are keeping me from actually that's a bad way to put it. They're not like keeping me from doing things, but it's almost like I take part in things like SRC outside of work. Like most people don't think that I have a 9 to 5 and I do. And then I train and then I have SRC. And so for a lot of people, that might be unappealing, right? Like, where do you find time to just relax? But to me, like running is relaxation. This podcast is, for the most part, pretty relaxing. This is like my social hour. I have kind of taken to meditation a little bit recently. So I'm always trying to learn something new, whether that's like yoga, gardening. I'm trying to get into gardening right now. There's a lot of time for new hobbies right now, honestly. So baking bread. Just I'm trying to do more things that allow me to slow down and just be in the moment. So those are a few hobbies. But like you said, Kels, I think when you have either school or a full-time job, it kind of keeps you going for the most part. Yeah.
I want to actually interject really quickly. You said something about life balance that made me think of something I wanted to share that I actually recently thought about. This idea of life balance, I think, is completely fake. Like people are like, I want to like balance my life. I actually call it life dancing because we dance with life, right? Like it's a partner that we're involved with. And so like nothing is perfect in a dance. I mean, well, ballet stuff, whatever, technical error there, technicality. But like you dance, right? It's a partnership. So that's the way I look at it. There's so many people who are like, I want to achieve balance. And I'm like, well, what if you just dance with it instead? Like, there's a lot of passion and it makes it more fun.
I love that.
I don't know. I like just to throw it out there.
Yeah. I've thought of like integration, work-life integration, or I like the dance element. That's nice.
Let's see. I thought we have some great questions, so I know we don't have very much time left. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of just the fun one, totally unrelated. Was what's the first concert that we've ever been to?
Yeah,
just like a kind of a fun way to end off.
That is a fun one.
Somebody had asked that.
We don't have to end. I'm actually, while we're on this podcast, I'm like, I think we need our Zoom account upgraded. For everyone listening, it's like, perils of having a podcast. But anyway, first concert. I think that would be a fun one.
I was going to say the first, like, I hadn't ever been to like a traditional concert as my first one. I went to Lollapalooza, but that was 5 years ago before this has become like a thing now. I think I was a sophomore in high school, junior in high school. My best friend and I went together and we went all 3 days and that was so much, but we were really into the like alternative indie bands. So like, that's what we went to. I think we saw like Vampire Weekend and like a couple similar bands to that sense. So that was like my first one. And then the most recent concert I went to was here in Bloomington, was Duran Jones and the Indications. And it was like the best concert I've ever been to because he was just amazing. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think it's neat you went to Lollapalooza before Lollapalooza was a thing. Gosh, it's my first concert, so my parents are top-notch concert pickers growing up. Like they introduced my brother and I to some really just amazing musicians as young kids. So gosh, my first concert, I was in 7th grade. How old are we in 7th grade? Like what, 13, 12, 12-ish?
Yeah.
I went to see the Rolling Stones at 12 years old. So it was the best concert I've ever been to. It was opened up by Maroon 5.
Wow.
But it was before Maroon 5 was even Maroon 5, right?
Oh gosh.
They only had, I think they only had a few songs out from songs about songs about Jane, I think was their first album. I think it might have been that. But yeah, and so I went to go see them, and it was incredible. And I would highly recommend people to go see the Rolling Stones if they ever get a chance to. I don't know what's going to happen when they're so old, but it was amazing.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah. What about you, Meg?
Oh gosh. I think the first concert I ever went to was the Goo Goo Dolls. They're like one of my favorite bands, and I've seen them twice now. And they played once with Matchbox 20 and once with Switchfoot, which I love 90s music. So like 90s, early 2000s is my jam. So yeah, it was a good time.
Who would you guys want to go see in concert?
Oh, that's a good question.
Anybody. Like even dead. Well, I'm gonna make it hard and say dead or dead. If they're dead and like you want to see them.
Oh. I've always wanted to see Coldplay, but they're not dead.
Hey, I'd be with you too, Meg. That was always like my very first favorite band. I always listened to all of my pump up songs in high school were by Coldplay, and I would always listen to those. And even like recently, like if I ever like feeling nostalgic or want to like listen back and listen to their songs. So yeah, that would be kind of fun. We can go together.
Yeah.
How about you, Kelsey?
Oh, I know exactly. I would go see Carole King in a heartbeat. I think her music is just, I would see Carole King. No question.
Perfect.
Yes. Well, you guys, we do have time for a few more, and I don't want to leave our listeners hanging on their questions. So,
let's see. What is one we haven't gotten to yet? Okay, a little bit more serious now. How did we tackle body image post? I did a little more broadly. Our question was post collegiate running, but I put post collegiate
just
athletics.
athletics.
Yeah. So I can start. So this for me was dealing with that this like past like year and a half, and at first it was really, really hard. Actually, I was like, wow, I'm not running 70 miles a week anymore. I actually just for the first year after college, I only ran 20 miles a week, and I was like, wow, this is like really big difference. I'm only running like I just always loved running 4 miles for some reason. Like that was like, I'd always wanted to run just 4 miles like during college. I just want to go run a 4-mile run because it's like, to me, it's like usually takes like a half hour. And it's just, like an easy thing you do. So I just went and ran like 4-mile runs like every day after like finishing up my college career. And it was tough at first. There were some days where I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know, like how I'm feeling my body, like this is like different, like I'm just like not at that same level I was at, and I was kind of getting like kind of down about that. And then like I don't know, maybe I just like followed some more accounts or more people were just kind of being more open about everything. And just kind of, I think, actually a big person that helped was Megan Madrano. A lot of her posts really spoke to me, and where I was like, wow, like it really doesn't matter what I look like, just mainly more how I feel in my body and like how I feel, and just doing some journaling about that. And I'll be honest, I wish that maybe I had seen a therapist about that, but I had moved, and so it was kind of tough to just get back into that and find someone again, because it's a hard process when you have somebody previously to like find a new person to kind of meet with. But I kind of dealt with it, like kind of got through it on my own in that sense. And then just finding a group of people, women here to run with now has been helpful. But I think it's just been a lot of the people who are just more open about it and just being like, it doesn't really matter as long as we just, feel good and are having fun and enjoying life and not worrying about wasting our time and our mental energy on our thoughts, like deep negative thoughts in that sense, which isn't easy, but yeah.
Go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Elena. I have thought about this a lot because part of me wants to say, like, yeah, I think it's definitely been easier personally, like not being on a team of, say, 30 or 40 other women, exactly my age and doing the same thing I do. And, in terms of like the comparison in general, it's definitely that part's been easier, but I also think it doesn't necessarily end in college. Like if you have challenges with body image, it continues or it can continue. And I've thought it's interesting because when I first got out of college, I was, continuing to do races, like some road races, trail races and Spartans and OCR. And I thought that like, oh, Spartan and OCR training, it's going to be different. Like people are really going to celebrate their bodies, and this could be a whole other conversation, but I've just found it really interesting that like even in sports like that, where I thought that strength is celebrated more so, I think, in some like other arenas like Spartan and trail more so than road. At least I find personally, like I feel healthier in that mindset in those sports. But I also think that the more women I met in those sports, the more I found out like, oh, wow, they still have the same struggles too. And so it's easy to get caught up in kind of the comparison, especially if you're continuing to race or put yourself around people that are kind of in that space. So what I found helpful is just, again, focus on your own mat. Like it's so much easier said than done, but I try not to follow people, especially that just post about their body all the time, like um, in a sort of negative or comparison like way, or people that I don't feel good when I look at their accounts. And I've talked about, yeah, I've been on Strava here and there, but I try not to compare like in terms of paces or mileage with other people. I'm just like, okay, good for you, but try not to be like too into the numbers in that way either. So yeah, but again, yeah, it's tough, definitely. And I think just trying to like think of myself as, fueling for health and wellness and kind of taking care of myself in that way um, has actually been really refreshing post collegiately. Yeah, that was like a lot there, but yeah, I think in some ways it has been easier, but then like I said, it's like sort of walking a fine line of trying to find what's best for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also want to go back and say I laughed, Elena, after you spoke, and I wasn't laughing at anything you
Oh, I
said.
didn't notice.
So I'm sorry if anybody, Elena, or anybody listening thought I was laughing at what Elena said. It was not the case. So I didn't run in college. I appreciate, Elena, you changing the question because I was not a runner in college. I was a soccer player. But I think my body, gosh, it's so hard because so I had an eating disorder in college, and then I didn't really fully recover from that eating disorder. So then I got full recovery like about a year ago now, which is crazy. Or I'm going to put recovery in quotes. So I think though, when I think of body image with athletics and sports in general, I personally emphasize body neutrality. I think that I get really sometimes upset at people who are like, I love my body all the time. I think it's great. And not that I don't think that they're particularly, I mean, they totally can love their body all the time. And if they do, more power to them. But I think the reality of it is the fact that we have to come like to this acceptance of like, we don't always love our bodies. Sometimes we have days where it's not working for us. So for me, that acceptance of like, there are going to be days that I don't like my body. That's how I've come like really accepted like body image for me, is this fact that like some days I'm just not digging it. Like I just don't feel good. And on those days, it's like those choices of like, then that means I'm going to eat an extra piece of whatever, or I'm going to have some extra of this because that's what I want, even if my body doesn't feel that great that day. So I think the idea of body neutrality has really been liberating for me, and in terms of recognizing that I don't have to uphold a body standard, or I don't have to always like my body, or there's no pressure to feel really like my body needs to look a certain way to perform any sport. I don't really believe in that. And I think the other thing too, that it has been very helpful in terms of tackling body image for me is actually, this might be crazy, unfollowing though a lot of runners. I don't follow any runners on Instagram. Yeah. I think that runners are this one, generally I will say runners are a type of person who's very type A and does fall into comparison trap a lot. So I will speak just for myself. I do as well. So I now follow female athletes. And usually the athletes that I follow are multidimensional and are usually outdoor athletes. And ones that I think of specifically are not only trail running, but they're biking and they're swimming, and they're also like backcountry skiing, and they're going on long hikes. So that to me is more inviting because it just is, like, you know. Yeah. So I think recognizing, tuning inwards, and realizing what you need from your body acceptance journey is the most important part, and then taking steps on those journeys and getting the help you need in terms of recognizing what you need for tackling body image is probably would be my suggestions.
Mm-hmm. I think those are all great things. And one thing I think to both of you, what you said, like to Meg, like I can't have a Strava. I don't have a Strava. I know a lot of my friends do. And I'm like, I just know for me, like that's something that's just not going to work for me. And it will just put me in not a great place. So I just don't have one. And I'm totally fine with that, really. Like that's how I felt like Instagram. I got Instagram 3 years ago. I waited a while to get it because I was like, I was just right now, I don't have it. I feel great without it. Yeah. Like now I have it. I'm like, I try to delete it every once in a while. It's nice to do that because like I just saw like your little screen report, like, and I think this kind of segues into another question we have, is how we stay motivated during this time. But like I've been spending a lot more time on my phone, which I'm sure like many of us have, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, what have I been doing? But like it's hard right now with where we're at with everything. And I was gonna say too, similar to you, Kelsey, just a little thing. So my favorite people right now on Instagram are Glennon Doyle, and I'm gonna say her name, Abby Wambach. Did I say that right?
Oh yeah.
They're so funny. I don't know if you both see them or follow them on Instagram, but they make me laugh every time. They're so funny.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've been keeping me motivated during this time. But that's a question we have, is how we're staying motivated with this unique time we're in right now. And it's not easy. Yeah. And the three of us were kind of chatting about this right now. Like, what is this? This is the start of our third week more now, like serious, like here in Indiana, we're like on like more lockdown or whatever. Yeah. So today I was kind of losing it a little this morning. I was like, what am I doing? I like was sleeping in. Like I was sleeping and I was like, well, I just feel like I could just sleep all day because I don't have time for the day. Yeah. But then I was like, no, like I'm awake. I'm gonna get up and go ready. And I was like, no, I was gonna run today, but I was like really delaying it. I was like, I'm gonna go run some trails because that'll be great. And that was wonderful. Like I'm so glad I did that, not on my own. But yeah, I think too, is the thing is this, I've seen a lot more people now, it's like just knowing we don't have to be super productive right now. It's a little hard for me because I know Kelsey, you're a little different, similar to my classes start, my grad school classes start up again tomorrow actually. And actually right now, one of my teachers, she's doing like Sunday night Zoom recordings. And so like we don't have to be there live. We can watch it again. But like for me, like I respect that she's doing it on Sunday night, but it's like, it's still Sunday and I don't want to do school on Sunday. So yeah.
Yeah. Totally. I'm not afraid to admit this. I have zero motivation. There have been multiple times these last 3 or 4 weeks where I've lied in my bed all day and read my book. I'm not going to lie about it, to be totally honest. So I feel really badly for the person who answered this question because I don't have the answer to it. I wish like, what you have to do to have motivation. But let me know because I need to figure it out. In all honesty, yeah, it's been
Yeah.
really hard to find motivation lately. I mean, I started classes a week ago, and then 2 weeks ago, I had to restructure all my online classes for my students. So, yeah, I just like
Yeah.
finding that desire to like really get back into things has been really hard. And I think I'm also trying to like manage like emotions during this time too, being someone who's like
Yeah.
highly sensitive and like very like like so I think finding the balance between those things and not putting pressure on myself to figure everything out now. Like I think at this point in time, like motivation for me might be like trying to finish my book for pleasure, or
Mhm.
motivation for me might
Yeah.
making a loaf of bread, Meg, or like so
Yeah.
looks different for me now, and I'm
Right.
trying to really accept that. And there's so many thoughts of like, but when this whole thing finishes, like, am I gonna have motivation again? So I can go down
Right.
the spiral, and I can spiral into all these like terrible thoughts. But and then I realized it's not very helpful for me. So long story short, to answer this question, I have not been very motivated. I wish I was more motivated. No, I'm not even gonna say that. I don't wish I was more motivated, because that's what I need right now. It's just to kind of
Yeah.
take care of myself and what I need. But little things of like reframing what motivation looks like to me right now has been really helpful. So
Yeah.
reading my book, or if I do like an hour of schoolwork and then I go for
Mm.
a walk, or then I
Yeah.
this morning I was doing a bit of schoolwork and then lying on my floor because that's just what I did at the moment. I don't know.
Sometimes it does. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what motivation looks like for me right now.
Yeah. I appreciate you both sharing, and I agree with, I don't want to say I've like lowered my expectations, but just trying to like sort of adapt them to what the current situation is and what it allows for. And knowing that, yes, I might not be as productive, quote unquote, as like I normally am, or my motivation right now is going to look different than it normally does. But I think we're all kind of struggling with that, right? And it's sort of like the pace of life has allowed for us to slow down. And so I'm really trying to appreciate the slower movement. And I'm also trying to just cultivate new practices, like I had mentioned, like gardening and baking bread and meditating every day for like just 10 minutes or 5 minutes even. And so I'm using Sam Harris's app Waking Up. It's been really good. But I know there's like Headspace out there, or maybe it's like gentle movement, like you go through a 5-minute yoga flow, right? Just like small little things that I can do every day that just help me to feel accomplished. Like even if I do just like A, get out of bed, B, meditate for 5 minutes, C, like it's very basic, read my book for 10 minutes, I think that has allowed me and I'm not really like a type A. I wouldn't think of myself as like super structured. Maybe I am, but not really. I'm pretty laid back. But I like a little bit of structure. And I think in this time where there's no structure or very little structure in a lot of our lives, we're kind of craving a little bit of that. And so doing it in a healthy way, of course, but just trying to like establish some of those rituals or routines has been helpful for me in a time where I could be like, I have nothing on the agenda today, so I'm doing nothing. It's kind of helped a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's tough and it's not easy, and we don't have all the answers, but we hope that we
Yeah.
can come together in this community space and be with you all and share in our experiences as well.
Yeah. Well, that being said, we just have one more question, which we are going to be chatting. I'm sure if you're listening, you're like, yeah, the retreat. Yeah, we'll be chatting kind of with everyone more about the retreat this year and like next steps and what we're going to do. But obviously it will look different than currently planned. So we did have this question, will there be any retreats locally? And this was actually from someone in Portland, which I wanted to say, Mount Hood is basically Portland, it's local. So hopefully we'll do another, or we'll kind of adapt this current one of 2020 and figure out when we're going to do that. Hopefully a similar location. But in terms of a single day retreat, I like that idea. I think that's cool. I would like to do more SRC events in person, even if it's just like a meetup run or, a conversation where we bring in a couple guest speakers. I would like to do more of that. Yeah, but I'm very open to ideas. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I know Kelsey and Elena are full of great ideas too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only other thing that maybe sometime down the road would be fun would be to be at like race expos or something, like just to connect with people. Obviously, there's tons of races, but maybe there's a couple that are more people will be at or something. That maybe sometime that'd be a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah. All right. Well, that kind of wraps us up. I don't know. Do you guys have any more fun questions before we wrap up? Any shout outs?
I'm trying to see. Oh, there was one of what are you most proud of? That could lead us down a rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
We can see that for like another one. I feel like that one a lot about as well. I'm trying to think of a really good wrap up question, like something silly or fun.
Yeah.
I have this awesome with my students called 3,000 Questions About Me. And it's all these incredible questions. Oh, I wish I had it with me.
Oh, that would be great. We're sitting here like, now we really need a live Q&A. We were planning to do this live, which potentially in the future on YouTube, but we'll try that next time. Yeah.
I know one question one of my teachers asked is if you had like one word to describe maybe how you're feeling right now or like what's going on, just like one word to end it. So we always end class that way sometimes.
And we're all like blah, or just one word.
I would say like I'm feeling grateful. I've been grateful for a lot of conversations I've had with people I haven't been able to connect with lately. And just grateful to have like a safe space to be in right now. And it's also springtime out.
Yeah.
Like I'm so grateful for the flowers coming up right now really too. They are so welcome and they smell wonderful.
I love it. I think in a time where people are falling into maybe feeling scarcity, I'm actually feeling abundance or abundant, if that's really a word. Sort of like grateful, but abundant. Like I'm so grateful for the abundance of people in my life, of, food in my pantry right now, just, of plants in my garden. Like I'm just really grateful for having an abundance of connections. And so that's kind of, I don't know if that's a feeling, but that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How am I? I'm feeling all the things. I'm going to be totally honest. If I had to choose how I'm feeling right now, I would probably say I'm feeling as though I have a lot of gumption, which sounds kind of odd, but just like this feeling of like, I want to take on the world sort of thing, even though before I spoke about not having motivation, there's also this underlying like simmering, like, ooh, I have this gumption of like, after this being done, like going out and doing all these incredible things that I've had planned, but never had the gumption to do. And that's something as simple too as like going out and making friends, which I've really struggled with in Columbus, but like little like things like that, or like trying a new yoga class, or like going to a new supermarket. Like I have this like desire to do new things in the space that I have. So I would say gumption.
Oh,
Love it.
Love it. Yes. Good way to end on. I like it. Thanks, Elena. Thank you all for tuning in to Strong Runner Chick Radio. We are going to wrap this episode up because we have a self-care workshop coming right up. So we're going to attend to that, and we're really excited to kind of chat with those ladies and see what's up. So anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Super grateful for you, and can't believe this is episode 100.
Yay!
Yay! If you've been enjoying these episodes, be sure to leave a review, and just feel free to share feedback with us as well. We're always hoping to improve and make these even better for you. So take care.
Let us know if you have any guests you want on.
Any guests? Yes. we can always go for that.
We interviewed so many amazing women, but anybody, we would love to hear from.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Bye for now.